All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 16th, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. If everyone could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. There we go.
All right, thank you.
No, thanks.
Give the introductions here. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board this year. To my left is Gary Merrill, Vice President of the Board. To my right is Barb Lewis, our fellow Commissioner, Farzan Ahmed, our County Administrator, and Sarah DeNova is our Clerk today. So I'll let you start it.
Resolution number 17-161, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held February 13th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-161. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Aye.
I will
Do
turn
that
it
loud
over.
enough.
Mr. Benson, in our public comment section, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce the newest advisors to the county. These are our municipal advisors that we have retained.
Okay,
To
great.
help us with the refunding of the bonds that we're going to be doing here shortly.
Yeah, you had mentioned they were
Brian
coming,
Cooper.
so great.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Brian Cooper. Address is 175 South 3rd Street, Columbus, Ohio. As I said, my name is Brian Cooper. I'm with the firm Umbaugh, and I wanted to cover three quick things with you this morning, just briefly. I want to introduce ourselves to the county, including our team. I want to tell you what we're doing for the county and with the county, and tell you where we are in the process. This is Mark Miller. He's the director of Umbaugh here in Columbus, and I've also brought Will Norman this morning. He's a senior analyst with us, and another member of our team who's not here today is named Jim Hargrove. He's the director of quantitative strategy for our firm. Umbaugh is a municipal advisory firm. We cover Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. And in Ohio, we serve clients such as Delaware County, the city of Dublin, city of Powell, and many other cities and counties throughout Ohio. Simply put, a municipal advisor is your financial expert. We're your fiduciary, and we assist the county and its staff in preparing for a bond sale. We will help and have been helping the county go through the financial process of helping select an underwriting team, who's also here this morning. You may know Mr. Marvin Founds and Ms. Kathleen Clark from Fifth Third Securities. We went through a formal RFP process this time. We solicited underwriters for underwriters who are active in the Ohio market to make sure that we were getting the best of the best. That process is about a 3-week process, and we reviewed everything with the county, and Fifth Third was selected. They're very active in Delaware County as well as the Ohio market, so we're very happy to have them as part of our team. And Mr. Chris Franzman is here as well from Squire Patton Bonds, who is your bond counsel and is helping with all legal-related matters on the issuance of the bonds. So our process for the refinancing of the 2007 bonds, which will be before you later today, is we go through the request for proposal process on selecting an underwriter. That is complete. We are meeting after this meeting to review our final thoughts on meeting with Standard & Poor's and Moody's to confirm the county's current sewer revenue bond rating, which is in the AA category. And then once that is complete and we've been assigned ratings, we'll go through the pricing process, and we'll work with the county and Fifth Third to negotiate interest rates on the bonds and have a successful sale, which will in turn create economic savings to the county to the tune of about $2.2 million on a present value basis by initiating the refunding of these 2007 bonds. I'm sure I'm probably leaving something out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we're probably going to go and adjourn to the other room to finish our preparations for the sale of the bonds.
Mr. Cooper, I do have a question, Mayor.
Sure.
It's Fifth Third, and we've used Fifth Third before. In this particular project, they came out most favorable. Next time we have a project, you'll go through the same process again. Is that correct?
That's up to the county.
Is that the likely scenario, or?
Well, it may be the scenario that we choose. We haven't discussed that, quite frankly, and while the county does have additional debt plans, they're not for some time, so we haven't gotten into the detailed decision-making procce of
I
coming.
just wonder what the thought process was going forward. So.
Yeah, the thought process this time was the county hired a new municipal advisor. We went through the options that the county has for selecting an underwriter and even the method of sale. We looked at selling the bonds directly to a bank. We looked at other methods of sale besides the negotiated underwriting. And through that process and those discussions with administration and staff, we decided that an RFP process was the best process to see everybody's best deal, the active markets, review those deals and come to a conclusion on the best firm to select for this particular issuance.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a question. Have you dealt with many other counties in Ohio?
Yeah, we just wrapped up a financing in December with Franklin County. We did a refinancing for them. I've done some work in the past with Knox County. And Mr. Miller, do you have other county experience that you'd like to share?
Yes.
Better go to the microphone. Identify yourself, please.
Okay. Yes, I'm Mark Miller with the firm of UMBA as well. And prior to joining UMBA, I was a municipal advisor, a investment banker with PNC and some other firms as well. As I was a corporate trust administrator. And during the course of my career, I've dealt with Franklin County, Cuyahoga County, Montgomery County, Hamilton County, and a number of counties throughout the state. In addition to serving as municipal advisor for Delaware County and some of the others that Brian mentioned, we also serve as municipal advisor for the state of Ohio. We're working with the Office of Budget and Management on a transaction there. We also work with the city of Columbus and a number of other significant cities and municipalities throughout the state.
Okay, great. And as the world of public finance has become more and more complex over the past decade or two, it's great to have real expertise to assist us in through that process and obtaining the best funding for Delaware County. So I appreciate the efforts, and I think it's been a good decision, to hire some real experts in this very tricky area.
Yeah. No, we appreciate the appointment, and I think that one place where the whole role of municipal advisor really became effective on July of 2015 as a result of the market turmoil and so forth that took place back in 2007, 2008. So I think that, what you're seeing is more and more municipal advisors being used for transactions and serving in that capacity, primarily because of the fiduciary responsibility that we have from a legal perspective to work for the best interest and on behalf of the issuer, in this case Delaware County. And as such, we look forward to serving as that intermediary between the between the county and the underwriters in order to get the best execution and best interest rate and savings and so forth for the county. So we're very pleased to have the appointment.
Good to have
And
you.
one question in your last statement, out of that process, you believe you've got us the best rate in this process for this time?
Well, the actual rate
I
would not be...
understand,
okay.
but that's expectation.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm anxious to see. I know we've got this one on, that we're looking at, but others, this is for us, it's an occasional thing. We issue debt occasionally. For you guys, you're in this world every day, so you really know the rates, the terms, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'll be curious to see what other opportunities we have as we go forward with the other pieces of debt that we have. Are there other refinancing or other restructurings that we could do to save the county money.
Yep, we'll keep you appraised.
Yeah,
And
appreciate that.
we'd even be happy to come back after the sale to give you an update on the final savings numbers, the final interest rate and terms, just so you know that everything's been taken care of.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. That it? Okay. Sarah?
We have no elected comment. Resolution number 17-162, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CMAPR 0215.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-162. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-163, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-163. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-164, in the matter of a stock transfer request from Toronto's Pizza Incorporated and forwarding to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control with no objections and no request for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-164. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-165, in the matter of a new liquor license request from Donato's Pizzeria, LLC, and forwarding to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control with no objections and no request for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-165. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-166, in the matter of acknowledging receipt of annexation petition from the agent for the petitioner, Aaron L. Underhill, with Underhill and Hodge LLC, requesting annexation of 59.58 acres of land in Berkshire Township to the village of Galena.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-166. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-167, in the matter of adopting a cash balance policy for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. George Keitza, Delaware County Auditor. Commissioners, this resolution as well as the next two go back to questions that the rating agencies have asked us for several years, and that is, do you have a formal policy for the cash balance? Do you have a formal policy for post-issuance compliance? Do you have a policy for debt management? And with your approval today, we'll be able to report to both Moody's and Standard & Poor's that we do, in fact, now have formal policies adopted by the Board of County Commissioners. With respect to this policy, the cash balance policy, I have put before you the report that Mr. Cy Keeley prepares every month. It's rather the graph that shows the cash balance policy compared with the cash balances. I would mention to you that our policy is that we maintain a 25% cash balance. That is the cash together with the $5 million budget stabilization account. Our benchmark for 2016 was $21.4 million, and you can see we stayed above it in every month. Our benchmark for 2017 is $22.3 million, and I'm confident that we will stay above that as well. The policy does provide that if for any reason we do fall below that, then I, as the county auditor, would come before you and we would discuss whether any adjustments were needed or if it was just a temporary situation. The other part of the policy says that we need to start off our fiscal year with 25% balance for the unencumbered fund balance plus the budget stabilization account. For 2017, we're starting the year at $31.4 million. That's the unencumbered balance plus the $5 million. So I think that speaks to the strength of Delaware County and its the management and oversight that you as the Board of Commissioners provide.
Auditor Keitza, what do other counties do in this regard? I mean, is there a certain level of, like a rainy day fund that that counties are supposed to have, or not?
Yes.
Over, under?
There used to be authority to actually have a rainy day fund. That was changed by a former state auditor, so that now the way the rainy day fund works is it's actually the budget stabilization account, so it needs to be within the general fund, but earmarked for the purpose of financial contingencies. And our budget stabilization account, which would be the rainy day fund, is that $5 million. And it requires a unanimous vote of the Board of Commissioners to either change it or use any of those funds.
Is it up to us? I mean, is it up to the county then as to how much we set aside?
There are statutory limits on how much you can allocate. As I recall, I believe it was 5% of revenues and 6% of expenditures. We've taken the higher of the two limits to get to the $5 million. Also, I would mention that the balance that we want to keep is tied to the credit rating. And if we want a AAA credit rating, we need to be in that 25% range. In fact, that's why we worked on that as being our policy.
Oh, thank you.
If you have lower balances, then you drop to the AA range or in between.
Makes sense.
And I might add, our trip to Chicago, we basically promised we would put a written policy in place.
That's correct, Commissioner Merrill. Yes, so we are following through on our commitment that we made to both rating agencies. We did share this as a draft policy to the rating agencies when we were there back in April, and we said that we wanted to adopt all the three policies simultaneously. So we are now in a position where we can do that.
Great. Glad to see it adopting as a formal policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Benton.
It's a policy which basically we followed informally.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic we're making it formal and further.
Right.
Because we made a promise, because it's good due diligence in our county.
And it demonstrates that the county is very prudent in its fiscal management, particularly as it relates to debt.
Yeah. Thank you for your leadership on this.
Yes.
Cy as well. Farzan,
Cy and
Gary.
Farzan.
A number of people have been involved in making this happen. Okay. Any other comments, questions? We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-167. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-168, in the matter of adopting a post-issuance compliance policy for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Commissioners, this is the second in a series of policies, and this is the post-issuance compliance policy. What it basically requires us to do is to provide full disclosure on all of our financial information. It's compliance with the federal continuing disclosure requirements, and that ties into the federal securities law as administered by the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the federal tax laws and maintaining the tax-exempt status of interest on the county bonds. There are basically the two requirements: that we annually provide updated financial information as to the financial health of the county, and the second part is that we annually engage in training related to those disclosure requirements. And this policy establishes that. I know that the policy is on file with the county clerk. It's a very long policy because the first 7 pages actually are the general description of the policy, but then you have a number of attachments that go along with that policy. They reflect all of the debt issues that we have outstanding, and of course that full disclosure requirement applies to all of those debt obligations. This policy was prepared by our bond counsel, Mr. Chris Franzman, who is here, and It also provides that, two other requirements, that if there's any material event that occurs within the county, that within 10 business days, we're required to inform the rating agencies and the other entities about that material event. And the other thing is that we provide updated financial information within 270 days after the end of the county's fiscal year. And we've always been in compliance with that.
That's the CAFR
Yes.
primarily?
Yes.
Okay. So who all does this information, the compliance tracking, who all does that get sent to proactively?
It goes to EMMA, which is the Electronic Municipal Market Access System, and that's governed by the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board.
But it's
So, and
available
then,
to-
by then, it's public information, anyone can access that.
Is it available online in the county, at the county?
Oh.
Yes.
Our bond counsel says yes, and I would refer to our bond counsel.
Right.
So it's actually, the filings are actually done by our bond counsel.
Okay. Yeah, again, very important to maintain compliance, monitor compliance, make it public, and be transparent, so even though it's a complex policy, it's good to have it in place.
Well, it did make me a little nervous as I started reading that and said, boy, a lot of this stuff falls on the county auditor.
Well, we got one of the best county auditors,
That's
so
right.
I'm sure we
We
can.
sure
What is the
do.
best?
Well, we got the best.
We've got the best.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I'm very honored by that statement.
All right. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-168. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-169, in the matter of adopting a debt management policy for Delaware County.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Commissioners, this is the third of a series of policies, and this basically lays out a formal guidance for the Board of County Commissioners in terms of what our position is with respect to the issuance of debt and what we're going to take into consideration when we issue debt. So it provides guidance to the Board of Commissioners. It isn't, in other words, the Board has the opportunity to make its own decision, but this is the general guidance of how we pursue debt. It's basically broken into 5 parts. The first is kind of a general overview, and it gives the Board of Commissioners the authority to use whatever financial experts they feel necessary in making a decision. It also lays out the guidelines with respect to issuing debt, specifically that we would not issue debt for operating purposes, that we'd only issue debt for capital assets and capital projects, and just the different considerations that we can also issue notes for short-term financing or issue notes on a construction project, which is then subsequently funded with bonds, so we convert the bonds to, or convert the notes to bonds. So just those general parameters. It's basically to advise the rating agencies that we are really very thoughtful in our process in terms of how we access the capital markets. Third part of the policy lays out the ability of the Board of County Commissioners to decide how they want to proceed with the financing. In other words, we can proceed with a negotiated sale, or we can proceed with a competitive bid process. Those are all up to the discretion of the Board of County Commissioners. So those options are available to us. The fourth part of that policy lays out the constitutional and statutory debt limits that apply to the county, both the direct debt limit, which is tied to our assessed valuation. 1% of our assessed valuation is one limit, and the other is the indirect debt limit, which is the overlapping debt on any parcel of land by all taxing jurisdictions. That cannot exceed the 10 mil limit, so that part of the policy lays out where we are currently, how much debt capacity we have. Currently, with our valuation of taxable valuation of $7 billion, we have a capacity of about $29 million in terms of additional GO debt. And we expect that valuation to increase. That $29 million represents $20.3 billion in terms of market value for our real property in the county. So that's, but that's basically the policy. It's to provide guidance to the Board of Commissioners and also to inform the rating agencies that we do approach the issuance of debt in a very thoughtful process.
Yeah, I read it in detail, and again, I want to compliment you. I think it's a great policy, addressed the major policy concerns, the strategic issues with issuing debt. I thought it was very well done. So
Thank you very much, Commissioner Benton.
Yeah, I want to
appreciate that.
Just to confirm, one question I had in reading through it is we do not have to use a municipal advisor
We do not.
in every transaction.
No.
I mean, that's up to us to select when we do.
That's exactly right. It's up to you to select when you do and which advisors you want to use, you know, whether maybe just sufficient to use bond counsel or, you know, so, but absolutely, that's correct.
Okay. Comments, questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-169. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great
Resolution
job.
number 17-170, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for the county auditor.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Commissioners, this request is for a supplemental appropriation so that we can do some reorganization within the Fiscal Services Division of the County Auditor's Office. As you know, we are in the process of upgrading to one solution, and as part of that upgrade, we've determined that we really need to have a dedicated individual that will serve as subject matter expert on that implementation. In other words, that individual will coordinate all of the activity related to the One Solution upgrade. We hope to have that in place by November of this year so that we can start calendar year 2018 on the new platform. We have up to now been doing it on kind of a piecemeal basis with individuals adding to their existing duties, but we've kind of come to the conclusion that we now need to have a dedicated individual for that purpose. And so with that, we are going to reassign one of our staff members, and that will create the need for the creation of a payroll specialist position, so this would provide funding for that.
Sounds good.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-170. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. And again, I want to thank you so very much for your support of these policies. So,
Thank you for
Good
drawing them
management.
up.
Good fiscal management.
Yes.
Resolution number 17-171, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for juvenile court.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Good morning, Karen Watkins, Fiscal Coordinator for the Juvenile and Probate Court. This request is due to the creation of the Domestic Relations Court. We accept fees and fines for mediation, but with the Domestic Relations Court having moved, those fees and fines are no longer collected by the Juvenile Court. We would like to transfer $20,000 from our fund to a newly created fund within Domestic Relations, but in order to do that, I need to request $20,000 in the appropriations.
Okay.
Vote.
Vote on motion 17-171. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Resolution number 17-172, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for economic development.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director. This is a transfer of funds from the General Fund to the Economic Development Fund to address admin items related to 2014 CDBG program that was completed last year, and to bring our financial records and payment information into compliance with the state.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-172. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Item
We're pulling the next item, correct? Can I just like to make a comment? I will support this one. I believe it comes back on next week, because I don't really want to make any particular department poster child, but we have, as commissioners, asked that we put in place, especially on personal copiers, some sort of universal evaluation process and purchasing process, and I will not oppose this one next week, but at some point, I'd like reassurances that we are going to get something in place so that we don't do these individually. So just for the record.
I'll make sure that happens, Commissioner.
Yeah, again, I have issues. I think Commissioner Merrill and I are philosophically aligned. We are not taking advantage of the county's buying power when we do small transactions like this. That
Individual transactions.
Again, I don't know MT Technologies. They may be perfectly fine, business to do business with. But again, at the county level, we're almost a $200 million business, and to doing, for each area to be doing its own individual copiers is not the most efficient or cost-effective way of doing this. So I don't know if, I think Chris Bousman, the county engineer, does a great job of taking advantage of statewide and even nationwide buying programs that are available. And
He buys from Texas. So
yeah, he buys from Texas. He just scouts out the best deals. And there's got to be probably a statewide buying program for copiers. And that's just one example. I mean, there's got to be statewide or nationwide buying opportunities for these types of situations. So again, we need to move that direction, and this kind of forces that to the forefront. So anyway, we did pull
I better go on record, too, as saying that, yes, we should take advantage of our economies of size when we're negotiating contracts on various things.
Yep.
It's not the fault of individual departments. I mean, they're doing...
Right. It's up to us to actually
it's something we've got to address. This is the copiers is probably the great starting point.
Yeah, good.
And not where we think you end up, but where we should at least consider starting and get this done.
Starting point. Okay, so on to number 16.
Resolution number 17-173, in the matter of approving change orders 005 and 006 to the construction manager contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Lend-Lease U.S. Construction Incorporated for the Sandusky Street Courthouse and related parking facility.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning. John Melvin, Director of Facilities. With me today is actually Gary Rutledge with Lend-Lease and Sean Simon with Ceiling Architects to help answer any questions. Change Order 5 is really catching up on some paperwork from back when we did GMP 3. At that time, we highlighted some deducts, some credits back, totaling an amount of $523,000 from GMP 1 and some changes in the GMP 2 package. So this is just, those weren't captured in the GMP pricing at that time, so this change order is to reflect those credits. Change Order 6 are some items that were basically dating back to during document design. We've had a really aggressive schedule maintaining construction pace and developing the documents. A lot of these items on the list, the summary, are items that were brought up during document review kind of concurrent when Lend-Lease had the project out on the street for a bid. So a lot of these, the good example is the largest amount, the $62,000, is for lightning protection that was added to the building. During just a normal review of the design, the electrical engineer noted that we should add some additional lightning protection based on the height of the building. So the electrical contract was right on the street. Instead of Lend-Lease just excluded it from the GMP3, work out the pricing, and come back with these items at this time. So I'd be happy to answer any questions relating to these change orders. I will mention we are catching up some paperwork. There will be some additional change orders coming, both deducts and some increases as we go through the design of the documents and also the building. Some of it pertains around, a good example is we had the building GMP3 executed before we knew the actual judge for the domestic relations court. Once he was on board, we were able to redesign with him, and we made some modifications to his suite to better suit his anticipated needs of the building for his court. So.
I have to ask, where are we on the timeline?
At the last schedule update that Lend-Lease provided, we were about 4 weeks behind schedule, largely due to the weather. And we had
It was 3 weeks, just a couple of weeks ago. So.
Well, officially, it was about 4 weeks. Pleased that Gary did announce, did share with me, he is working on a recovery schedule. He's got it back to about the beginning of July. this, the 10-day forecast is very favorable. It's warm. The problem is we haven't had much of a winter, and it's been warm, but when it's been warm, it's been wet. That's been the biggest hamper to get the building dried in. So hopefully in the next 10 days, we can get the roof on, get the building dried, and that will help maintain this recovery schedule. This is the biggest thing. It's going to be warm next week, and it's also only calling for about 1 day of rain. So.
I hated to see the periwinkle exterior go away.
Cover up with the canary vapor barrier. We got brick going up. That's the biggest thing, the brick's going on. The other very important key is the roof is going on at this time. They're getting the vapor barrier down and get the membrane roof on. Gary, when do you anticipate that to be? Give them a quick update.
Sure. Gary Rutledge, 92 North Sandusky Street. Right now, we've added additional crew, been able to secure 7 additional roofers. We've had some trouble getting roofing manpower, and we have 7 additional crew coming in tomorrow and working Saturday, and we should have the roof done by the end of next week. So that's a great milestone for us to get the exterior dried in. We've got a lot of windows going in right now, as you've seen. On the south side of the building, those windows should finish up next week as well. And the masonry on the west side here on the front elevation should finish up next week and move around to the south side. And that duration on the south side is much quicker. It should be about 13 days over there, working days. So by the end of, or by the middle of March, we should have the south side elevation done. We also have glass starting on the north side of the building today. Actually, the large curtain wall, the large face of glass that's on the middle of the north side of the building will start today, and that has about 3-week duration to put that in. So we're quickly getting the exterior of the building wrapped up. The interior is moving along quite well. We're hanging drywall on level 300, the 3rd floor, administrative level. Most of the 4th floor is framed out with studs, and the 5th floor is starting with a lot of studs and ductwork. We have a lot of mechanical work that's starting on the 5th floor next week. Today we have our last piece of equipment going on the roof, which is the large mechanical chiller unit for the air conditioning system. So there's a lot of current activity over there behind the church this morning to get that put in place. So it's quickly coming together, but unfortunately, as John said, we are running about 4 weeks behind schedule right now. And as he said, a lot of that is due to the weather. We haven't had necessarily a cold winter with a lot of snow, but the rain has been a lot of that difficulty, and the high winds that we've had have been a preclusion of getting us to a point where we can really get dried in. Some of the building materials, just so you know, require that we have a temperature minimum of 40 degrees, like the roof system. We have to have 40 degrees to install the roof membrane. And so we're able to do part of that system, but we can't do the finished system without the 40-degree air temperature. And that's why this next week's so important to us to get that done.
Yeah. It's going to be unusually warm.
That also applies to the periwinkle on the outside of the building, that we have to have a 40-degree temperature in that as well to apply that material, which is a moisture barrier that goes on behind the brick.
Do you want to point out?
I have one question first.
Go right ahead.
Gary, I know there is a requirement for a recovery schedule. Could you talk about the recovery schedule a little bit?
We're in the process of working with our subcontractors on that as well. We've implemented a 6-day work week. A couple weeks ago, we've been working Saturdays here the last 4 weeks, and are going to be looking at that going through the end of the project as well. We have all the major materials and everything in hand in terms of they're on order and they're available. There's not an issue with long lead time delay items. So it's more of a manpower and a sequencing of activities right now to get, you can't put too many bodies in the same place and be productive, but we're trying to sequence that in a manner where we're working on all 3 floors at the same time. The garage floors are finishing up very quickly, and that's not a concern to us as much as it is getting into the courtroom spaces in the 4th and 5th floors. There's a lot of extra work there that has to be done, so we are focused on that in terms of making sure that we have all the materials here on hand. As I said, 3 is in good shape finish-wise. Once we get the roof on, we can do a lot more finish work in terms of painting and trimming out the drywall we can hang, but we have to be careful not to put that in places that might be exposed to some moisture coming in the building on the exterior. So we're staying more inboard on the exterior of the building on those floors as well. We have temporary visclean protection up everywhere, which is mitigating a lot of the exterior moisture coming into the building, but we still need to get under temperature control before we can do finishes. So our push right now is to get permanent power in the building by the 1st of April, so we can turn on air handling systems and start conditioning the building by mid-April so that millwork can start. We have a requirement in any project to be able to acclimate the wood that goes into the project, have it sit before we actually have it sit in the building for a couple of weeks before we actually put it together, so that the movement or any kind of moisture or any kind of difference in temperature or humidity won't affect the end product. So we want to get air moving in the building under a permanent system by mid-April. And that's where we are right now, scheduled to do that. All those components are coming together very well on that. Benchmark, who's a local company here, is doing all of our millwork, and they're geared up very well to do all the millwork for the courtrooms in a timely manner. So we are really pushing that schedule to try and get us back on track to as close to the end of June as we possibly can.
We'd also like to note, as Gary mentioned, there's a lot of crews over, a lot of different subs, and to date they've had 0 lost days because of safety. Their safety record is still excellent, and they have a very, very quality safety program over there on site. It's a tight site, it's a busy site, but they are maintaining that.
Good, yeah, very important.
We've got no lost time injuries, no accidents.
Boy, that's
no
good.
issues. We enforce that very strongly with everybody on our site and monitor that. We're not perfect, and there's always room for improvement, and we're always looking for those opportunities with every subcontractor that we have to do things better, more efficiently, and more safely. So.
You've got to be a weatherman, don't you?
Believe me, we look at the weather more than once a day.
I was just thinking you're probably,
You can anticipate, and I've always said that's one of the best jobs I think you could ever have, because you can be wrong most of the time and people still believe what they tell you.
Right.
Yes.
Any other questions for me?
No, the steel, too, you mentioned, I know, I asked John about this. The steel is actually local, isn't it? Is it you're buying?
Yes, Ohio Steel.
Ohio Steel is. Warner Metalworks here in Delaware has been doing all the stairs and a lot of the miscellaneous metalwork in the building. As I said very early in the project, we would try very hard to engage as many local contractors and personnel as we can, and we've been very successful, I think, in doing that in terms of even the subcontractors that have come from other parts of the state have been hiring people that are local here.
Oh, that's
manpower
great.
has been an issue across the state. We've been aware of that for some time. And as I said with the roofers, that crew is actually coming from West Virginia today. So they'll start tomorrow. They're part of the same company, but they were working on a job in West Virginia, and we pushed the subcontractor to get more crew here while the weather's nice, and they brought a crew in from West Virginia.
Great. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments? We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-173. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-174, in the matter of accepting the repairs as complete and as described in the third supplemental developers agreement between North Star Residential Development, LLC, and the Delaware County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag with the Regional Sewer District. Very happy to have this resolution on session this morning. This has been a long time in coming for us here at the district. A lot of hard work and effort has gone in with not only our employees, but also with Nationwide to get these repairs completed. So what we have here is looking for final acceptance of the structural repairs. We do have a $1 million bond in place for 2 years and also a 20-year structural warranty on the liner. So looking for your approval of this resolution.
And those are things we negotiated over the last, probably more than a year, but
Correct,
at
yes.
least a year.
Yes.
So for the protection of the county.
Right, and the plant has been up and running for a couple months. This is just for the repairs.
Okay.
And we've got Nationwide has a 20-year
Correct, yes. Nationwide holds a 20-year warranty. We have an agreement with them to enforce that warranty. We've actually already had to go ahead and use that warranty one time, and everything went very smoothly. They acted very quickly to fix the liner when we did enforce that warranty.
Because of some of the issues with the facility, we insisted upon a warranty that would give us reasonable protection, and we ended up at 20 years.
Correct, yes.
I know, Commissioner Merrill, you had a lot of meetings regarding this,
We had a
didn't
few.
you?
Yeah, it seems like it's been a never-ending process, but I think
Yes,
we're finally at the
thank
finish
you.
line, so.
A couple years.
They were great to work with, ultimately. I mean,
Yeah.
you go through the initial stages, but I don't think we could have a better partner in coming to something nationwide. So.
Absolutely, and we actually just discussed this morning with Commissioner Benton, is the partnership that we seem to have with Nationwide has been fantastic, and we look forward to that, continuing over the course of this 20-year warranty.
Yeah, Nationwide's a great local organization. They've been a good partner through a lot of this. Okay. Take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-174. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-175, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for Clark Shaw Moores, Section 2.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
This is our standard subdividers agreement. This project is located in the lower Scioto tributary area.
Okay.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-175. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-176, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer improvement plans for the Preserve at Scioto Glen off-site sanitary sewer and force main improvements, Phase 1.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is for off-site improvements to take in the Scioto Glen area and some other tributaries, and this project has met all of our requirements for the plan approval, and we recommend your acceptance.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-176. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-177, in the matter of approving services agreement with Ohio Cat Power Systems Division for annual generator inspection services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Ohio Cat has been performing our annual preventative maintenance for over 10 years on all of our generators. So this is a very important service for us to make sure that those generators run when we do have an event of a power outage. So we do recommend your approval, and this was budgeted for 2017.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-177. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Sorry. Resolution number 17-178, in the matter of approving a services agreement with Status Control and Integration Incorporated for electronic integration services.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
This service is an annual service that SCI performs for us as far as our SCADA and all of our integration with all of our technology out there at the treatment plants. They specifically work at OECC, Allen Creek, North Star, and we'll be doing Lower Scioto as well. So we recommend your approval.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-178. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-179, in the matter of approving transfer of appropriation for the Regional Sewer District.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This transfer appropriation was budgeted as far as our 2017 funds to set up our O&M funds separate from our development fund, so we could kind of track those funds separately. So basically, the purpose of this was just to get our balances where they need to be for the beginning of this year, to be able to go forward and track those funds separately.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-179. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 17-180, in the matter of approving support of the adoption of the Roth 457 option as expanded portfolio choice for the CCAO Deferred Compensation Program.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Commissioners, as you know, excuse me, our county employees have the option to save money towards supplemental retirement through the deferred compensation program. And that deferred compensation program basically just allows you to put money away, and the taxes are deferred on that money. In December of 2016, there was a new law passed which allows the 457 program, that's what this program is known as, is the Ohio 457 program, to also provide a Roth option to employees. And the Roth option goes into effect on March 19th of this year. The state of Ohio, the state deferred compensation program, will not be offering it to the state employees for another couple of years. I think they've got some software things they need to work out. But the County Commissioners Association of Ohio is right on it, and they have it available in March. So we are asking that we make this option available to our employees, and asking for your approval to offer the Roth option as an option as well for the deferred compensation program.
I think it's great that we're doing this and doing it quickly. I think that speaks well of everybody that's been involved, and this just gives our employees one more option. This happens to be an after-tax option, but that just kind of expands the. And I assume we'll have somebody coming in to meet with employees to explain.
Yes, we have a person that comes in, and you can probably, if you're in the building when that happens, you see people walking in and out of that conference room, and that's when they're getting into individual consultation from that expert. So, Commissioner, I agree with you. The Roth, depending on whether you are in the Susie Orman group that believes that the first thing you should do after your mortgage is max out on your Roth. Some people prefer the Roth option, and we've never had that option available to our employees. It's always been the deferred tax option. So now we've got both options available, and you make your own choice how you wish to invest your money.
Oh, yes, very supportive of it.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-180. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-181. A resolution authorizing the issuance of sanitary sewer system refunding revenue bonds series 2017 under Ohio Revised Code chapters 133 and 6117 in the maximum principal amount of $18,900,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of refunding certain bonds heretofore issued by the county for the purpose of improving the county's sanitary sewer treatment and collection system, authorizing various related documents and instruments, including a third supplemental trust agreement, a bond purchase agreement, an escrow agreement, and an official statement and a continuing disclosure agreement.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Sure. The bonds that we are trying to refund right now were originally issued in 1999, and I believe they were for the Alum Creek treatment plant back then. These bonds were refunded in 2007, and the rate at that time was 4.07%. They are callable now. They're callable in 2017, and we want to take advantage of the current bond rates, which are 2.1% as opposed to the 4.07 that we are paying right now. Once we go through the refinancing, the net present value of savings to the county is $2.275 million, and that's pretty substantial. These are tax exempt, and the cost of issuance is approximately $210,000. So basically we are investing $210,000 to refinance these bonds, and the refinancing will save us approximately $2.275 million. I say approximately because everything depends on the market conditions on that day. But as of February 1, our projected savings are 2.275, and hopefully the bond market stays in the way it is right now. Those actual savings, when we do go to closing, will be in that neighborhood.
I believe that rate will be determined next Wednesday if we approve this today. Is that?
That's right. Next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday is when we have our ratings call for the Moody's and Standard & Poor's. I believe that the schedule is March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Preliminary and going to market.
So the conference call with the rating agencies is next Wednesday. Because this is being refinanced and because we visited the rating agencies back in April, we didn't feel it was necessary for us to go and visit them personally. We can accomplish this by a conference call. The conference call will be attended by myself, Cy, Auditor Kaitsa, and Director Frommer, and we will discuss the overall health of the county as well as the health of the sanitary sewer system. That's where Mike is actually across the room going over his presentation. His job will be to talk about the condition of our sewer system and the cash reserves and so on and so forth. So, and then that rating call will hopefully give us the same bond rating that we have. It's a different bond rating than the general obligation fund, since this is the actual rating based on our sanitary sewer enterprise funds.
Yeah, I had a concern because I hadn't, until just now, had not heard any of these details in terms of what the expected rate is, the issuance costs, all those sorts of things. So I would like a couple days to be able to absorb, to understand just what the terms are, the maturity, the expected, the details of the issuance costs. So I would like to have us table this until Monday. So
We don't have a meeting Monday, that's the problem.
Yeah, we don't have a meeting.
No meeting Monday? So Thursday?
President's Day.
Thursday?
But that's after their phone call, though. Your phone calls on
problems?
Yeah,
the 3rd.
we cannot do the ratings call until the commissioners approve this resolution.
Well, again, I had not seen any of this until Farzan just mentioned it just now, so I don't like approving something where I don't understand the details of what I'm being asked to approve. So I would make a motion that we table this until next Thursday then. I'll get a second on that or not.
I'm okay with moving forward because I think the people, George and everybody's been involved, I feel comfortable, so I would not support tabling it, but
Yeah, I do feel comfortable in moving ahead, too, because I know you've done your due diligence, and you've been working on this for a long time, Cy and Farzan, with George.
Yeah, again, I don't think this is a issue that we don't want to do. I mean, I really do think this is a very beneficial issue to the county, and we're going to save a lot of money. I just haven't seen any of the details until just, again, hearing the details just now.
I will take that on myself. It was my responsibility to make sure that you should have been informed ahead of time, and I apologize for springing this on you. But I do assure you that we have done our due diligence for several months, and this is the best deal for the county. And regardless of that, this is indeed my responsibility, and I apologize for not fulfilling my responsibility.
Good. All right, so we're not going to table it. Okay. Any other comments, thoughts, observations?
No, I think it's a good idea.
I thought the presentation this morning was reassuring to me, the process, and any time we have an opportunity to save this kind of money, it certainly benefits.
This is a big deal.
In this case, our environmental service fund, because that's where the savings will incur to.
I mean, I certainly support this project. It makes a lot of sense to go forward with refinancing it as we have this opportunity. I'd also like to see other opportunities surface as they become possible to refinance other debt that we have in the coming months. So, anyway.
Do we have a good system on the other debt that's out there as far as knowing when are we pretty much aware of that, Cy or Farzan, whoever?
Would you like to address that? Okay.
Cy Kelly, Assistant County Administrator. To answer your question, I will get with UNBAW to analyze our outstanding debt and see which ones that we can work on refunding.
I know we targeted this one about a year ago as being the next.
This was the next big one that could go out.
Yeah, and I think this one's going to end up saving us a lot more than we really expected it to.
Correct, because a year and a half ago, we were projecting a little over $1.2 million in savings. So
I think that shows the value of a municipal advisor and the different approach to marketing these bonds.
Correct.
So I think it's great, which also begs the question: what other ones could we possibly have that would make sense to refinance?
And after this deal is complete, I'll sit down with them and see if we can come up with a game plan and look at the other debt that we have outstanding.
Because I think we're all anticipating for the next year. We've said this for the last 3 or 4 years, but I think we're going to see rate increases over, 2 or 3 of them over the next year or so, probably.
I think it's more likely now.
Yeah, so
Sooner rather than later, for sure.
so the evaluation needs to occur as quick as possible, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud the whole group for putting this together. Again, I just wish I had had more time to look at the details and review them to be comfortable. But I will support it because I think, again, it's with all the people that are involved in doing it, it's going to be a good thing for the county.
point taken, and we'll make sure that moving forward, we provide enough time for you to analyze and look at it and ask questions.
Thank you. Comments? Questions? We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-181. Mr. Merrill? Aye. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Britton?
Aye.
That brings us to administrative reports.
I wanted to give a shout-out to Lieutenant Travis Reese of our EMS department. Commissioners, I think you have probably read some stories recently that the county EMS is going to be restarting the free 10-week Citizens Academy. Great way for our citizens to learn some potentially life-saving techniques, and of course great outreach for our EMS department. I think the last time this was done was 2012. At least that's what I read in the papers. and we'll be starting this in March again, so that's a good thing. And I think we've already had 10 people sign up, and we're looking for up to 20 people. Last, based on your advice or your direction to me, with outreach to the townships, this week I had the pleasure of visiting Marlborough, Radnor, Porter, and Harlem townships, all 4 of them, and it's always great to engage with our townships, and they're always very happy to receive visitors. And in one of my visits, I actually Doug Riddell from the engineer's office happened to be there too, so that turned into a nice, great, big conversation. So the townships appreciate that, and I've actually also asked some of the townships if they would like to come in.
Sure,
That's great.
I think it'd be fantastic.
That would be great. I'm sure they were very happy to see you. It's really great that you're doing that, President.
I know Bob has been out to the townships, and Health Director Sheila Hiddleston goes out regularly, and of course the engineer has Doug Riddell assigned to the counties, and he's pretty regular with them.
Yes.
And Carol O'Brien, she's a pretty, she or somebody from her office is a pretty regular visitor to the townships. So there's a lot of engagement from the county level with the townships.
Which is great, yeah.
Okay. Good. Commissioner Merrill?
I have several things. First of all, the Regional Planning Executive Committee was yesterday morning, and then following that, there was a CCAO legislative meeting which participated in, and then following up that, there will be a board meeting on Friday to discuss some of the recommendations the legislative committee made. I won't go into detail at this point, but we all attended DKM board meeting earlier this week, and there's some challenges there that we're having to deal with and evaluate, and Commissioner Benton is taking a lead role representing our county in that, and as one of the 4 commissioners, 1 from each county. So I think there's a lot going on right now. And I need to catch you after the meeting. I had a phone call from one of the trustees, Joe Garrett. He had a request of the county. I just need to pass the baton to you so you can take the lead on that project, or that evaluation. So catch me if you would.
Okay, I will.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Next week, I have the Bridges Community Action Meeting, monthly meeting that I go to. So, and then Monday is President's Day. So, a happy President's Day to everyone, our employees, and everyone else. That's all.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Just a couple other things. The CCAO is very active in a whole bunch of legislative initiatives, as well as the budget in particular. And I know all of us are doing different pieces of that and involved in it. The Medicaid sales tax issue is a big one. Paying for election equipment is a big one for them, and so on. So they're very active, and we're all engaged in that process and trying to get some other legislation initiated. We're trying to do as well. Central Iowa Youth Center board meeting is this afternoon. Let's see, the DKMM board meeting, they did mention that there is a collection event scheduled for Delaware County on October 14th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the fairgrounds to collect electronics, tires, and paper shredding. So that's always a very busy event. And I'm trying to get them to do it more often because there's a lot to be recycled. And that's a good way of doing it.
So am I. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get them to move it to the southern
And
part,
move it to the
too.
southern part of the county where more people are.
Right.
I agree, that'd be very helpful. We did our first pass at the competitive advantage projects, and I don't think anybody would be surprised at the number one survey result. What did we get, 24, 26?
4 responses out of 66 that we sent out
Yes.
request to do it. So
Yeah.
good response.
Yeah, that was pretty good, I thought. So the number one of the 24 response that we got was the Big Walnut interchange.
Oh, okay.
Anybody would, and that was a clear number one. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
would be terribly
That was my
surprised by
number
that. And the others were interesting. A lot of it was Home Road, the east-west connector. Sure. You know, it's different pieces. 315, the bridge over the railroad in Lewis Center, and some others, but that was another important one.
And to some degree, that's kind of like one project anyway.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it is.
extension. I almost see that as one project
Right.
over time.
Yeah, and in the top 20, there were actually 6 different projects that were all part of that one big project. So again, it was very interesting. I appreciate everyone who did that. Next phase is we're going to try to get it out, I think, not next week, but the week after, and get more public input, broader public input, and to the smaller list, because the list was originally like 65, 68 items, and some of them were kind of hard to understand what they were asking for. But anyway, I think it'll be very helpful, and we'll go forward with that. We do have need for executive session, but I did want to mention that we've got a viewing this afternoon at Hickory Ridge for a ditch petition, and that's it. So we'll go into executive session.
Resolution number 17-182, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-182. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Yeah, sorry.
I'll go voting for you.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we're in executive session.